everyone, this is Lockanite. Welcome back to another video on the Great Builds YouTube channel, and I have the first LEGO City update in this newer attempt at the LEGO City display, and I'm going to reveal a little bit of information at the end of this video about how I'm going to be naming the area around this city, and potential ideas for the lore of this city and why it exists where it does. So, without further ado, let's get right into what we've done for the LEGO City in this video. I first want to talk about the table layout that I've done, because it's not like the previous layout. I made sure to make it not a just big rectangle, because that wouldn't make much sense. And I also had to construct a new table for this design that's using some custom-built legs that attach to the floor, and the wood piece on the bottom actually guarantees that the table height will be closer to being the same pretty much everywhere in this LEGO City. Now, I also have my storage bins moved all the way under here, and there's room for way more storage, so I might get to sorting some more pieces into different storage units in the future. But for now, this is just proof of concept. And for the tabletop here, I used a tip of the book from some of the other LEGO YouTubers I watch. One of those YouTubers, being Brixie, uses a material called melamine. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And it's a good tabletop material, and I bought a sheet of it that is 15.5 inches by roughly 90 inches, which is a pretty insanely long piece, but it allowed me to get this really cool shape here and have this little part extend over the edge for the new harbor section I'm going to be planning for. You can also see some basic plate work going down here to showcase the rooms for the harbor. There will be room for 3 boats, one of which will definitely be the Destiny's Bounty, but you'll have to wait and see for the surprises of what these other boats will be. Now, moving in here, we can see that I put some tan base plates down here for like the beach area. You'll see that I moved the train track away from the beach, but we'll talk about that later and why that is the way it is. And this is just some different base plates that I got as gifts over time, and they are not LEGO based, but sometimes using the other base plates and stuff that you were given is just a little bit easier to do, especially when LEGO's charging you like $7 a base plate now. So yeah, definitely worth getting the base plates in like this. Another tip I learned from my previous LEGO City building right here was to spread out the base plates to add plates on top to bridge them together. In this case, most of the base plates in this city have 2 studs in the gaps, and this just allows the city to not be based off of just the 32 by 32 stud margin that most LEGO cities use. And of course, it also allows for me to change up like where the base plates are pretty easily. But even though these base plates are here, in the finished design, I don't plan for you to be able to see much of the base plates here at all. So, kind of an interesting concept we're going for here. Now, moving over here, the mountain, it stayed in place. I basically didn't want to change this at all, and moving it away from the table area for display like the rest of the city parts were, like the buildings and such, was not going to happen considering how this is very fragile. And I had to like restructure some of the back of it, and that's mostly just because this was not built the most sturdy. It was not intended to be moved from where it was placed originally. So I basically just slid it along the table and moved the tables with it on top, and didn't really have much break in the process, so that's pretty good, I'd say. Additionally, over here, for this area, we are using, for the most part, all the LEGO official base plates that I have for this area, just because this is the area of the city that will be nature-themed. You'll have the botanical gardens, the giant area for the farm, which is going to be way bigger than the last one, and maybe part of the suburban area over there by the mountain will change a little bit, too. So, got some good plans for this, but I wanted, since this area isn't probably going to be as covered as heavily as the city, I wanted this to make sure that it was visible and consistent with colors. So that's why I used my LEGO base plates here. Now, I did want to mention the train track design while I was at it, because I made some modifications to my old design here. First of all, I wanted to showcase that I do have a long straight track going off the edge of the loop, and that goes down to the port, and we have the freight train here, which I've constructed a new dairy container car, which I thought would be a fun addition for this train. And if you're wondering why I'm using this train and not my high-speed passenger train I've made, the whole idea here is that this train is a lot harder to control because of the old motor system it uses and the shape of the cars. So I wanted to make sure that the train could run on this track design before putting the other trains on, since this would be the hardest one to get to work. Now, I can confirm it does work, and while I'm talking about stuff later on in the video, we will have that to run around the track for us. Now, the track design for the downtown area of the city is pretty much the same as it was in the previous city, with some minor detail changes. It's mostly just based off the elevated railway, making sure that there's a lot of like light gray tiles and grill tiles on it, just to add a bit more detail. And if you see any of these spots of black in the future, I have plans to bring roads through there. So, pretty exciting stuff, actually. And there are multiple places for roads to cross over. Now, in the earlier parts of the video, I did mention that the train track is not going over the area in front of the beach. I wanted to make sure that the people at the beach wouldn't have to worry about a train track just somehow magically crossing over the top of water. It really made no sense. So here, it's going to be like this, and then we can also have like a strip of buildings, or just fun, like even have a road going over here. And that will just add to the display value of this side of the city, and the train will go through the middle of the city. Now, for the rest of the track, I just kept using the same thing that I've always been using for my tracks for the most part, which is covering them in brown plate. Now, I had a couple of brown pieces break on me, because brown is pretty brittle, so it's not the best color to be using in terms of durability, but it does look good in the end. And of course, it wouldn't be working with a Lego train track without having one part of the track that just doesn't connect up for some reason. I don't know how this happens every time I do Lego trains, but the train does pass through this area just fine, so it works perfectly fine. Additionally, I have the final pull-in over here, which will house one of the other trains, and it will be where the train station goes, because I liked where that was in the previous Lego City display, and this will do just fine with that. Now, one minor thing I wanted to mention about this city display was that it is designed to be on an island, and I'm going to get the train running, and I'll explain a little bit more about what that means. So, here you can see the freight train going around the loop here. I have it set so it'll just keep going around for a little bit while I explain the details of the Lego City being an island. So, if you know from my previous Lego City, I wanted this Lego City to be a part of the world of Ninjago, because I like doing stop animation themed after that, and I mean, my kind of character for the channel is also a ninja character. So, in preparation for this entire setup, I decided to look through all the Ninjago media that I could find, and eventually found that there's a list of islands that are connected to Ninjago that the story hasn't done much with. So I, in theory, could build an entire city on one of these islands, and nobody would really have any problems with it, because they're likely not going to revisit them at any time in the future when it comes to the Ninjago media. So I went and looked at all the islands, most of which were explored by Captain Soto in the show. If you're familiar, he's the original pilot of the Destiny's Bounty back when it was just a pirate ship. And I wanted to make sure that I picked one of those islands, because they have names, and they have little descriptions about them, but those are also dated from back when Captain Soto was sailing his ship around the seas, which would have been a long time ago. So in present day, anything could have happened to those islands. Now, I wanted to pick an island that would be fitting for my channel, and also fitting for the theme of my character. And there's one island that stood out to me, and I have plans to put it right on a picture on the screen for you right now. And this is Squawk Island, which originally is supposed to be an island filled with parrots, and there's literally nothing on the wiki other than, like, the one image of the map, so there's not much information of this place. But I figured, since parrots and chickens are somewhat similar in some ways, being domesticated birds, I thought it would be funny for this city to be built on Squawk Island. So, while I don't have a name for the city yet, we now know that this is a display of a portion of Squawk Island. And that, I think, is pretty cool. Now, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for the next one. The next time we revisit this city, we'll likely be putting the roads in. But I wanted to make sure I got this video out now to keep people updated. And they had a lot of Lego on sale at some local stores near me, so there might be some reviews coming out soon. I hope you all enjoyed this video, though. Stay tuned for the next one. And I hope you all have a great day.